By this point, hopefully you have a better understanding of what business analysis is, who conducts business analysis, and the type of tools and traits that can be useful in being effective in conducting business analysis. Now, let's take a closer look at the formal business analysis lifecycle, the sequence of steps that you might be expected to take as a business analyst. First, we're going to look at assessing needs. Then, we're going to plan business analysis. After that, we'll seek to elicit information. Then, develop requirements. Followed by that, we'll want to monitor and control our requirements, and then evaluate our solutions to see how successful they've been. When it comes to assessing needs, which will be the focus of the rest of this course, we want to assess the current environment and capabilities as it exists today. Then we want to define our desired environment and capabilities. This gets back to our idea of understanding the present and defining the future. Then we need to focus on how to get there. In other words, identifying the differences or gaps between our current and desired states. Finally, we have to be able to develop a business case for action to take place, some sort of proposal that can help us get from here to there and why that's worthwhile for the business to do. In the planned business analysis phase, we're going to analyze our stakeholders at a deeper level, have a better understanding of how this problem or opportunity might impact them presently, might in the future, or might if we take action, and whether that impact could be positive or negative in nature. We need to assess the environmental factors in which our work takes place right now and might if we take any action toward change in the future. What are our competitors doing? What is the regulatory environment like? What are the geospatial or time factors that might be an influence here as well? Is it possible for us to address the problem or opportunity in time and at the right location for an impact to be made or not? We have to develop a plan for our business analysis work to take place with a philosophy of measure twice and cut once. We want to make sure that all the work we do moving forward is effective. And by thinking things through now and better scoping out what it is we seek to accomplish and the techniques we'll use, we can help ensure success. Finally, we also will seek to define various work processes, how we'll go about the work of business analysis moving forward. The next step in this is eliciting information from stakeholders. We want to first identify our objectives, what information we seek to learn and gather from the different stakeholders we'll speak with, and who should participate in these discussions. Then we should determine what elicitation techniques we're going to use. Are moderated focus groups the best method? One-on-one interviews? Simply a phone call or some emails? Reading through reports of information that's already been documented from stakeholders in the past? The correct answers will vary widely, not only based on the type of analysis we're doing, but also depending on the type of stakeholder and the type of information we're seeking to obtain. Finally, we should develop our questions and choose the formats we're going to use to ask them in order to maximize the amount of useful information we're able to gather. From this point, we'll use that information we've gathered, the needs assessment we've done, and the planning work that we've already done at this point in order to develop our formal requirements. Here, we first analyze the results of our elicitation, all of that information that we gathered from speaking with others. We want to compare these findings to the needs that we assessed earlier on. Do these, in fact, match up and align with one another? We thought this was the issue, or we thought this was the opportunity. Is that verified by the conversations that we've had with others? Or do we need to go back and modify those assessed needs to take into account this additional information? We should use models here to enhance our requirement details when possible. These might be computer simulations in some cases, but in many others it can be as simple as developing process flows and other visualizations that can give us a better idea of how the business's work is accomplished. We'll look at those in more detail later in this course. Then we need to specify and prioritize our requirements, providing any technical details that might be necessary in order to measure whether those requirements have been met, and then place them into a final order that can be useful when it comes to the project or initiative that might follow this work. Then we need to ensure that our requirements align with our needs. This is important for us to circle back to time and again, but especially as we finish finalizing our requirements, we want to take a moment to go back and make sure that these requirements that we've created are in fact in line with the strategic and philosophical needs of the business. When it comes to monitoring and controlling our requirements, this might actually be accomplished after project work has already begun to take place. So we see some intersection here between the planning and the analysis that might be accomplished by a business analyst early on and the active work to address a need that could take place later on down the road. Here, we want to use requirement traceability methods to make certain that we have accountable stakeholders for each of the different requirements that need to be fulfilled. We should try to measure our requirements performance here as well to make sure that we are in fact addressing the need we sought out to address. We should continue to verify that our requirements match needs and that the environment around us hasn't changed or that we haven't learned something new from the work we've done so far that changes our perspective on the cost benefit of the work that we're doing or on whether in fact our end result will meet these needs. We should also manage any changes to requirements that need to be made based on these sort of findings that can really only be discovered after work is underway. Finally, we need to evaluate our solutions once project work has been completed and new initiatives begin to be rolled out to address needs or opportunities. Here, we develop and select key performance indicators that we can look to as measurements to define whether or not we're being successful in addressing those underlying needs. We should ensure that the solutions that we come up with match those requirements. So any ways that we can measure that our end result matches up and fulfills those requirements can be valuable here. We need to also verify that that solution, again, meets those underlying strategic needs that led to business analysis being conducted in the first place. We need to ensure that the solution meets the acceptance criteria that's been generated by different key stakeholders. Who needs to sign off, and how can we ensure that the project's result will meet what their requirements and acceptance criteria might be? Then we need to officially obtain sign-off or release for work completed. Now, oftentimes, all of these steps, when it comes to monitoring and controlling and evaluating solutions, will intersect substantially with the work of a project manager. If you happen to be both the business analyst on a part-time basis and the project manager on a more full-time basis, then this is simply a confluence of similar tasks. In other cases, if there is an independent project manager, aside from you as a business analyst, you'll need to collaborate with them in order to make sure that these steps are fulfilled to the greater benefit of the whole, while not treading too much into their territory as well. So this becomes another area where those interpersonal skills become very important.